Welcome to Star Wars Newsnet Live, man. It's been a crazy last couple weeks with holy moly. Last couple weeks with Mando's last few episodes and Bad Batch. I mean, it's crazy.
A lot to talk
It
about.
is. There's a lot to talk about. So thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't already, please like the video, and most of all, please interact with us on this show, because this show is for you, the audience. It's not really necessarily for us. I want you all to please just get into the comment section here, get into the instant message or whatever, the live chat, instant message, live chat. What am I, 80 years old? Yeah, I'm 80 years old. Get in here, get into back in the day, man. Oh my god, they did that. Go here to the live chat. We want to hear your thoughts. We're going to talk a lot about these last two episodes. Pretty much this whole episode is going to be about the last two episodes of The Mandalorian season 3, The Pirate. And is this the first episode that's not with a "the" in front of it for the title?
Is it? Yeah, I think so.
I think it is. Gun for Hire. This could be the segue into a different direction of the Mandalorian period. I don't know. We'll see. So, anyway, but thank you for joining us, Brian. How you doing? I had my daughter was being crazy, so I had to go up late. But how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing really well, man. How about yourself?
Not bad.
I'm excited for some announcements in the next few hours coming.
Andrew,
out of
hello.
Europe. Yeah. So.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We appreciate it, man. Thank you, people. Hit the like button. Join us. Hello, sir,
Hey,
Mr.
what's
Wilson.
going on, guys?
Guys, really appreciate y'all coming in. Again, you guys literally, you mean you people, all of you who join us live chat, the comments, everything. You guys all make this happen as far as interacting. We want to go off of what you are talking about, what your ratings are for these episodes. So we're going to start things off with this. Okay, Brian? I'm going to get your take in a second, but I want you all to think about The Pirate. I want you to give me a ranking out of 10. What do you give Mandalorian's The Pirate out of 10? And we did it last time. It was pretty successful, I thought. We're going to go, it could be 5.5, 5.3, 8.2, 9.9, 7.7, whatever you want, out of 10. Okay? It has to be out of 10, though. We're going to do Pitchfork music style. If you get that reference, you a G, even though I hate Pitchfork. Anyway. So give me your ranking out of 10. I want to hear what they are. 7.1, 2, 3, whatever. Brian, what's your take on these last two episodes?
On The Pirate, I really
Pirate. Yeah.
I really enjoyed the episode The Pirate. This is one that I didn't think that weird green bearded thing was going to come back in this season. I thought it was going to be just a seed planted somewhere else, but ended up coming back in this season. I thought this was a really solid episode. This guy is going to go down in history as one of the worst villains ever in Star Wars.
Wilson gets it.
Just did not understand how to run a pirate crew. The Ugnaught on the ship did more than he did. So
wow,
this was a really solid episode. I really enjoyed it. There was a nice little nod to Jeremy Bulloch there at the end when they're giving the Mandos the little plot of land. They said, over to Bulloch Canyon. So it was a nice little reference there for Jeremy Bulloch. So I'm glad he got some love. Really enjoyed this episode a lot. It was actually one of the stronger episodes, and I was really excited about where the season was going based off this episode alone.
I gotta address it right now, y'all. I really don't listen, Rob. I appreciate you. I could not disagree more than with your ranking, but we'll get there. I'm jumping the gun. We're gonna get there. But anyway, so for everyone, we're ranking The Pirate right now out of 8. So please, if you haven't already, please give us your ranking of this last episode of The Mandalorian of The Pirate. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give this a good solid probably 8.3. I'm gonna give it 8.3.
I didn't give it a ranking. I'm gonna give it an 8. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8. Yeah.
All right, right on. Yeah, I think 8's a good number. I think 8.2, 8.3. It's not even. It's a little better than an 8 for me. And now listen, I know there's a lot of yeah. Well said. Listen, here's the thing with The Pirate. There is so much. It's ridiculous in some ways. Don't get me wrong. but it just I grinned ear to ear on this whole episode. And this guy, he ain't dead, in my opinion. I don't think he's dead. At least for me. I'm not. Would you think he's dead, Brian? I don't think
hope he's dead.
What?
I hope he's dead. When he was first introduced back in like the first episode of the season, I was like, dude, this guy could be cool. And then when he finally came back, I'm like, all right, cool, we're gonna see that. No,
he's so great.
No,
there was my homie Tim from the Saga Continues, which they're recording tonight. I am not. They're recording every week, during the Mandalorian. So I have commitments with his place now, so I can be there. But my boy Tim said, he just loved these HoloNet images and or sequence, with
the holograms.
Hologram. And the thing with me, this just screamed Star Wars to me. I can't tell you what exactly.
Yeah.
But it screamed Star Wars to me. I freaking loved it. I love this guy. I don't think he's dead. I'm gonna go out on a limb to say now. We don't see a body. We don't see him dead. He's alive. Andrew, I like where your head's at. 8.5. I like this. See, getting the point system. There's a reason it exists in the first place. I do think it's value there. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, I agree, Mr. Wilson. Vane getting away is probably what's going to happen. That's how they're going to do it here. But yeah, no. Listen. There's just something about this guy that I love, and I want him to be. I really want him to come back somehow, personally. And oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name now. The head guy. What? Oh my god, it's oh my god.
Talking about Grief Karga?
No, not Grief Karga. The guy he's talking to. Oh my god, the freaking plant guy.
Oh, they said it like 50,000 times in this episode.
Someone in the comments, please. I'm just blanking. I would never have forgot it, but for whatever reason,
whatever. Yeah, I don't remember what
Pirate
it was.
King. What's his name? Oh my god, Gorian. Yeah, Gorian Shard. My daughter remembered his name, and I dropped her off at my parents' house last weekend, and I went away for a while, and then came back to go pick her up. And they went, we watched the Mandalorian. And I'm like, what? So yeah, she loves Star Wars, but she was like, they're like, yeah, she watched 2 episodes all the way through, which she hasn't really done for me necessarily.
Yeah.
And she was actually naming Gorian Shard, Gorian Shard, whatever his name is. Yeah. And I was like, what?
Should have named him Gorian Shart because he's not that great of a villain.
All right. So, but no, she remember my mom was like, she totally remembered his name. I was like, really? He's like, yeah. I was like, that's pretty impressive. So there's something. Yeah. Thank you, Gorian. Yeah. Thank you. I'm so bad with names. As I've gotten older, I am so bad, and I'm only 41. So I'm just in the next 5 years, I'm going to just get terrible. So, but yeah, no, listen, this episode was great because one thing, we got just Mandalorian central. I thought this was an important episode in a lot of instances to see the Mandalorians kind of growing out of their shell a little bit, you could say, in my opinion. Would you say the same thing, Brian?
Oh yeah. I liked when I don't know his name. He's a Vizsla, isn't he? Jon Favreau's character, isn't he a Vizsla?
Yeah.
Okay,
Vizsla.
so when Paz, right? Paz Vizsla?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when he gets up, like when Din Djarin gets done with his little speech, and he's like, it's up to them now, and he sits down, and dude, when Vizsla starts talking, and he starts like, talking like, why should we do this? And I'm sitting like, you've got to be. And then when he turns it and flips the narrative, and he just completely flips it on its head, and he's like, that's why we have to go do this. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. All right, thank God. I didn't think this was gonna go in their favor for a minute, but no, it was a pretty solid, pretty solid seeing all the Mandos.
Yeah, no, there was a lot here that I thought was really interesting, and just I love seeing the Mandos in action. And every time we get them action, it's kind of like a little bit of a dream come true, in some ways.
It feels like Clone Wars.
It really does.
Like a Clone Wars episode.
Yeah, it really does. And it's one of those things where it's just kind of it's crazy how it makes me feel really good seeing Mandalorians in action. And it's one of those things where I just want more and more. I'm greedy. I just want more and more and more. Yeah, exactly. So I really thought there was a lot of value here. I think really showing that they aren't just like a big mercenary Adventurer, we're gonna address this. I think it's a good thing to address at some point. But it seems like, from what I'm gathering, again, if your comment section before we move on to the latest one, guns for hire, I want to know your ranking out of 10. Can be out of any point decimal system you guys want. 8.9, 2.2, whatever you want. But go in the chat here. Tell me your ranking. Yeah, great action. It's great action. I really think it was, really, really well done. I gotta tell you guys, these Mandalorian costumes are really growing on me. They're really growing on me. I didn't love them in the first episode. And I remember if we talked about I don't know if we talked about this or not, Brian, but I think these costumes are fantastic now. I am totally on board with these Mandalorians. They keep looking better and better. I'm not sure if it's the lighting, maybe. I don't know. But that's just, no, seriously, I don't know. Yeah, I like that part of Book of Boba Fett. I don't think it's a bad thing. So there was lots of great stuff in this episode that I loved. Just seeing Mandalorians in action. And one of the things that I really want to talk about too, and it's an underrated aspect, is seeing the pirates. I love seeing pirates. Now I don't know about you all out there. I am a Battle for Endor defender. I will defend that movie. I would watch Battle for Endor over.
I love that shot you've got, the Trandoshan. She has no idea the armor's behind him. I love that.
It's great. It's a great shot. It's great. So, it just reminded me of those, the Marauders from the Battle for Endor. If you guys in the chat, please let me know. Am I crazy on this? They're all pirates basically, obviously, but I loved it. It really gave me those elements of that movie that I love. I love that movie to death. I unabashedly love it to death. So, I love this. I love all these things in this. It just felt very Star Wars to me, everything. Yeah. I always, again, speaking of names I can never remember. I love him. Blue. I just call him Blue. No. But what can people tell me his name? I'm again terrible with names.
I know it. It's crap. It's right on the tip of my tongue.
Anyway, I love seeing this guy in action. I love seeing him. I love the whole when he goes to see Tim Meadows. And yes, Andrew, I'm already love you already. Extremely underrated.
Yeah, that's it.
Hey,
Carson.
Teva. Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, that was it.
Carson Teva. He is I really love what they're doing with this character, and I think there's, I don't know. We've heard rumors, not rumors, but maybe he's kind of taking over for Cara Dune, and that whole thing. I dig what they're doing with the character. I dig it. I think it's cool, and I like the fact that he's going to be kind of like the person in the New Republic who's speaking up for the little guy. He's going to do his best, and he knows he's going to have all the right connections, like the Mandalorians, or he's going to be the inside guy, all the underground, all the underground stuff that we need to connect everything to. So I'm really digging this character. What's your take on this guy?
Yeah, no, I like him. And actually, Wilson just brought up another good point. Zeb, man, yeah. I mean, no, this guy was awesome. I like him I've liked him since he was first introduced. I think he's a really good conduit to kind of see what the New Republic is up to at the same time with the Mandos and what's going on and kind of the link between the two. The Zeb cameo was when he first started to walk by, because you see him in the background first. And when he first starts to walk through, my first thought was, oh, cool, it's a Lasat. There are not many of those left. And then as he started talking, I realized, nuh-uh. This is Gara Zeb Aurelius. Like, are you kidding me right now? I was like, yes. And my wife and I were like so dumbfounded. We had to stop it, freak out, back up, and watch the scene again before we finished the episode.
Yeah.
So it was great. He looked great. He looked amazing. He translated really well to live action. I wasn't sure how well he would, but man, he translated great.
Oh, seriously. He looks fantastic.
Excellent cameo.
I really want to emphasize the fact that they brought this in obviously to kind of prepare us, I think, to for Ahsoka and what to expect for what he's going to look like. And it was a perfect. I mean, it looks incredible. I mean, this is obviously expensive to make, but at the same time, he just hearing his voice, he just sounded fantastic. It felt like he was really there. I mean, he was He was. I mean, obviously he's a computer generated character, but it really felt like a real authentic Zeb. This was ruined for me a little bit. I was
Oh, was
online.
it
I
really?
know it was. I shut it
Oh,
out. I kind of knew he was coming, but I didn't know when. So when he showed up, I was still surprised. But yeah, it was. I gotta stay off the internet on Mando, man. I
yeah,
got to.
man.
It's hard.
Crap.
I've been really I've been bad
4
about it
years into
lately.
this, you should know that by now.
Last couple of years I've been great. Even for Book of Boba Fett, I've been great.
Yeah.
But for this year with Mando, I've just not really been as good. I haven't really
As
cared
vigilant.
about. Yeah, it hasn't been as very vigilant is probably a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I listen. I think this episode is just a banger, man. It really is. It's just a banger. And I think that one of the things that we're going to talk about for the season, and this kind of, to me, I feel like this season's been so good for me. I've loved it. It hasn't been perfect, no, but I feel like it's been a necessary evil in some ways. I don't want to say evil in a bad way, but it's kind of, there's been a lot of character building. Yes, exactly. Zeb. Yes. There's been a lot of character world building. I feel that they've done, and that people are impatient with, in my opinion, a little bit. Again, you have a right to be impatient. I'm not saying it's bad or whatever, but I've liked what they've done. I think the Pirates it was a good way of kind of showing you how the New Republic is struggling right now, Brian. I think it was a great example of showing us how they are not perfect. And I know there's been some fair criticisms of like Return of the Jedi has kind of been tarnished because of how bad the New Republic's kind of handled things. But to be honest, this is kind of reality to be real, right? I mean, this is when you take over for a giant galactic, fascist government. It's not going to be a perfect transition, right?
Well, see, here's the thing too. I don't care if I get where people are coming from with Return of the Jedi being tarnished a bit because of this. I get it, but Return of the Jedi is no longer the end of the story. It used to be. It was the ending. It was a great ending to the trilogy. It was a great happy ending, but it is no longer the ending. It is now just a middle part of this massive, this larger story now, and so it's no longer the ending. I don't feel like it's been tarnished at all. Well, I take that back. I feel like it has, but I don't feel like as an ending it's been tarnished. I think it was just a great middle victory now at this point, closer to the end of the war, obviously, but I feel like it was just a great victory. That was a decisive victory now, and so that's kind of where I stand on that.
No, I think it's a good point. It's been tarnished in a sense. It's tarnished, yes, because it's not like the happiest ending in the world, yes. Right. But I think you said something up perfectly here, Brian. It's not the end of the story, and you really can't, and you can't really fault it for that. Right. Like it's just not. It's hate to be Doc Manhattan here, but Doc Manhattan says in Watchmen, nothing ever really ends. And it's going to go on forever, and it's ending. It ended for that story, but it's going to keep going and going and going. And honestly, the Mandalorian, I think, is doing a great job building up things, and obviously, in this episode too, we have Grief Karga. He's given the Mandalorians this land. It is this planet going to be Navarro? Is it going to be a new home base for Mandalore? That's my question to you, Brian, and the audience as well.
I think they're going to end up back on Mandalore. I don't think Navarro is going to be the happy ending planet for the Mandalorians. Because they got the little plot of land, but as soon as they got there, what did they start talking about? We need to reunite the Mandalorians, and they're already talking about going and taking Mandalore back. So I think it's a really great base of operations for them for right now, and maybe a few of them will choose to stay there. Maybe a couple of the tribes, or not tribes, but maybe a couple of the factions of the Mandos will end up staying there. But I think for the main part, they're going to get Mandalore.
Yeah, it definitely seems like we're going that way. But one of the things in the Clone Wars they brought up was the fact that they had different moons and different kind of sub areas. So I feel like that's what they're kind of setting up. Now, you brought up a great point that this episode's big. I think these last two episodes are huge because I do think they are really emphasizing. This is where I would think people are going to look back on the season more in retrospect as important than like in the moment. Because, one of the things that people maybe are looking at season 2 a lot more fondly than now the season 3, because I feel like people were really harsh on season 2 as well. Besides, the last episode, people were still dogging it in some ways. People kept bitching about the frog lady, and I was like, I love that episode.
Grogu having a snack attack, eating her egg.
Yeah, like, oh my God, all that stuff. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like people were kind of harsh on it, but I'm like, I'm not. Like, I feel that there's doing a lot of, see, here's the thing, Rob, they're taking it for themselves. That's what I take it as.
I think
they're
there's
taking it
somebody
back
there
for themselves.
because the Empire was there to attack the moon, where Bo-Katan was just like chilling. I mean, the Empire came out of nowhere, and we still don't know who. Obviously, it's probably going to end up being Moff Gideon, but at this point they haven't revealed who sent them yet. I mean, they're lurking around out there, and they were told all these lies about the planet being poisoned and everything like that. Who started those lies to keep them away?
Well, and obviously the Empire. The Empire is the one doing it. I think the Empire knows, and Palpatine was smart to fraction and to bury the Mandalorians as much as he could, because he knew that they were going to be a problem. And I think, if you look in retrospect to Rebels, and all that stuff, all the Imperial Mandalorians, he knew he had to fracture. To me, Palpatine knows and knew he had to fracture the Mandalorians in order to basically keep them out of it, because they pose a threat, just like the Jedi would. He knows that they're powerful enough that they would cause a threat, and they'll always be an issue, because they're warriors, man. Like, they could take out one Mandalorian could take out a whole garrison, no problem, of stormtroopers. That's just how it is, And I think that's what we're seeing right now. I think they're going to take it back for themselves. I think the Empire is like, it's dead. It's been bombed out and depleted, and let's leave it there. And the Mandalorians, and we talked about this. I think we talked about this last time. The brilliance, the hindsight brilliance. I say brilliance in air quotes again. I'll bring the sequel trilogy for a second. Is that because Mandalore is not touched whatsoever in the sequel trilogy, and it's such a condensed amount of time, you can do a lot with the Mandalorians, and during and after Rise of Skywalker and the sequel trilogy, to really emphasize their role going forward in the Star Wars universe. And I think that's really important, to be honest. And I think that right now we're seeing the seeds, and I think Favreau and Filoni are very meticulously creating this new way of for Star Wars fans, and this whole thing with Mandalorians that we already had in the EU. And instead of like us focused on the Skywalkers and the Jedi, now we have the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, Bo-Katan, all these all the Armorer, Paz Vizsla. They are becoming the new centerpieces of the Star Wars universe going forward, which is not a bad thing. And I think that's what we're seeing with the Mandalorian. They're setting up this new lore that we always wanted from the Jedi. We're getting that now in the Mandalorians. And I think, that's what we're getting, that, like, we love mythology as Star Wars fans. At least I'm assuming that's what one of the big reasons we love this saga and this franchise is we love interconnected universes because of the mythology that it brings and the world building that it all builds up to. That's what Filoni and Favreau are doing right now. Whether you like it or not with these last 2 episodes, especially this last one we'll get to in a second, that's what's important. I think that's what they're doing right now that we wanted. We thought that JJ, Rian Johnson, KK, all of them were going to do with the sequel trilogy. They didn't do. And I think that was on them, all of them. And they didn't respect the fact that we wanted more lore building, in my opinion. And Filoni knew that. He's evidently and obviously did that in the Clone Wars. He's now doing that with Favreau, and I think he's ushered that importance into the series. And I think it's mostly Favreau and Filoni, but I think Filoni's really bringing that out. We're getting that now, and I think we're getting that, and I think this was season 3 is building towards that, because like you said, at the end of this episode, we get the Armorer saying, "Hey, you're going to walk between both worlds," and that's what we end on. And before we get into this next episode, I just want to say that what they're setting up it feels very Game of Thrones to me. And I'm curious, people in the audience, let me know what you think. Is this a mythology? Is this the new, are we getting now from the Mandalorians that we didn't get from the sequel trilogy with the Jedi? Now that we're getting this kind of this lore building up this whole different mythology, Is that why we love the Mandalorian as a whole? Not saying we have to love the season, but is that why we're grasping to this character besides Baby Yoda? I'm curious your thoughts.
I was kind of happy at the end of season 2 when we all thought Grogu was just going to go with Luke, and then that was going to be the end of it. I know a lot of people were, oh, he's so cute, bring him back. I get it, Grogu's adorable, I get it, but
yeah,
I wanted to see Mando free of that. I shouldn't say free of that, but kind of past that point of having to protect this kid, and kind of dealing with that, and then basically going back off on his own again, like he was basically a changed person. You know what I mean? And
right,
so
right.
That's kind of what I wanted to see. And then when Boba Fett just basically just undid all that and just like, oh, screw it, bring him back, and gave him back to him, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, whatever, I guess. Grogu sells toys, so that's kind of why I feel like he's just always going to be a part of it. So I
call Andrew.
But I wish Grogu, honestly, I want to see the show grow beyond what it is.
I mean, it is though. I mean, that's the thing is what I'm saying. Like
I know, but I want to see it. I want to see it grow beyond this, and beyond just Mando and Grogu being father and son the whole time. And what I really liked about this episode was Grogu really took a back seat in this episode.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying though. In the last 2 episodes, he's done that. He hasn't been focused.
It really worked, and the show still works. So I don't think Grogu needs to be the focus of it anymore. I agree.
I agree with you on that one.
I think he needs to be there. Maybe he needs to be there, but not as the central focus like he has for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, no, listen, and I think we're seeing that now. I think Grogu has not been the focus. He's had one more focus in that one episode, the Foundling.
Yeah.
Which again we saw the backstory. We wanted to see that, but he hasn't been the focus as it was the last 2 seasons. And to be honest, I'm loving it. Like I have no problem with this. And there's a comment from Rob here. I think it's worth bringing up. He said that, you don't want to rely on, where is it? Hold on a second. Sorry. I don't know if they're relying too much because they're telling a story about leadership and the rise of the resurrection of a whole gathering of people, or a gathering, but a rise of the people. And I think it's important that they're doing it. I think to me, it's been a little bit of a slow burn and they're building up towards something really interesting. And we don't really know exactly what that means. Like, we don't know if it means because I don't know. Is it going to be Bo-Katan? They're obviously leading, like they're pretty much telling us, they're almost hitting us over the head with it now. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Wow.
Tell us how you really feel, Rob.
Rob, just
no, I agree.
Ain't on the law.
I agree with Rob. What new things can we learn from Grogu at this point? What new things? I mean, he's already been captured once. So anytime that Mando loses Grogu to somebody, it's already been done. I feel like that story's run its course, and now he's just with them, and he's been captured. He's been, he's been turned over to Jedi. He came back from that. You know what I mean? Like, he made a Rancor go to sleep. Like, what more can Grogu do that's gonna surprise us? That's gonna be.
I mean,
now he's just along for the ride. Now I feel like he's just along for the ride.
Well, yeah, I think I don't think there's anything wrong with that either, to be honest. Because I feel like I love, me personally, I love the story of these 2 people. It's because Mandalorian is a changed person because of Grogu. He represents the change in this man's heart of like actually caring about other people other than just like staying and surviving in the galaxy. So he serves a morality purpose, 1, and 2, I think that he also represents, the future of Star Wars going forward after The Mandalorian is over. So I don't think it's a bad thing to have him tag around and learn, because you can build off that in the future. Like we kind of seen already. Like, and again, we talk about the Purgle from Rebels, right? People always complain about that. I remember people complaining, like, I'll get space whales. I'm like, I had no problem with space whales. And now yeah, but a lot of people did at the time. People complained all over the place, like, "Oh, this is filler, blah blah blah." It's like listen, everything is filler. If you think about it, I mean, you could everything is, if it's not one concise thing, it's all filler, right?
The puffer
Some
pigs were
stories
actual filler. That was
No,
the only
they weren't
episode
filler.
of Rebels that was a
No.
filler episode. Yeah,
What
that
about
was the only episode.
No.
Episode.
You're forgetting a very important episode that was bullcrap. It was the episode where the guy with glasses dies and blows up. That whole episode's worthless.
What?
Yes, remember the guy that he had the glasses and he works for the Empire and he blows up at the end. It's like oh my god, it's one of the
I know what you're talking about. But yeah, it still seemed like
no. This serves no purpose. The puffer pigs at least had Lando Calrissian in it.
No.
At least actually has Lando.
Yeah. And Lando never came back. It didn't even set him up for later on in the show. They used him as a reason.
Season 2,
no,
episode 1.
The puffer pigs were a conduit to bring Lando to one episode, and then they never brought him back.
Listen, and I liked it. They were a means to an end. They were like the central of like plot, whereas the Purgle were just kind of like they're involved. They were more of like a bystander of the plot. If that makes any sense. Whereas I get what you're saying. Yeah, the Purgle represented this whole thing, and like they drew on it. Whereas the puffer pigs were like that was the whole thing, right? It wasn't just stopping. They had to stop the Purgle. They had to stop the Empire from beating the Purgle. The puffer pigs were the whole thing.
Puffer pigs.
It was whatever. Like, listen, it's fun.
Jeez.
You know, I like puffer pigs are fine.
Jeez.
Thank you. Exactly. I'm with you. Yeah. So, exactly. I think that's the thing about it. It's developing does not mean that it's back. You have to take a back seat and whatever, because there's going to be some episodes where Grogu's going to be number one. Yeah. And there's and again, it's no problem with that. I think but if you have Grogu be always a center, you do lose focus of, I think, what's going on of like the show overall. And that's why I think maybe this season, I love the season because it's definitely been balancing out more towards Din Djarin more than Grogu. So, all right. We talked about the pirate enough. I think most people are seem pretty positive on it.
Boy.
I already know it's going to be a big fight. It's already going to be a big fight, y'all. All right, we're going to talk about the next episode, which I'm already can tell.
Guns for hire.
Brian's favorite part is going to be this right here. This is Brian's favorite part. It's my favorite part. We're going to talk about guns for hire. Oh God, this is. I'm going to tell you right now. Y'all,
do we have to? Do we have to talk about this?
Listen, I want you all to give me I want your best out of 10. All right. I want your best out of 10 on this. And I already saw some people comment some brutal comments. Here we go. All right. So I'm just, Rob, Rob and Brian, listen.
No.
I'm going to tell you right now. You're all wrong. Anyway, Brian, you have the floor. What's your grade and what's your take on this episode?
This is the worst episode of The Mandalorian that I have ever seen. Wow. This episode sucked. It was not good, dude. This episode had some moments in it that were like, oh, that's cool. But the episode itself overall was worthless. It was a worthless episode. We want to talk about filler. This was a filler episode. There was nothing in this.
Couldn't disagree with you more.
Forward, other than the last 7 minutes. The last 7 minutes, they would have been better off to make this episode 7 minutes long, and it'd be the last 7 minutes of this episode. That would have been the best thing they could have done for this episode. The cameos in it took me right out of it. It didn't feel like Star Wars. It took me right out of the moment because they were such big name stars. As soon as I saw Jack Black, I'm like, great, he's gonna pull out an electric guitar and just start going to town. It's Jack Black. He's too recognizable. Lizzo, way too recognizable. I'm like, are you kidding me? Christopher Lloyd, way too recognizable. It took me out of the show. And it was like, oh man, and so that is why out of 10, I give this episode, and the only reason I'm giving it this is because it has the Star Wars name attached to it, 0.5.
Wow, dude.
I'm giving it a 0.5. This, yes, Brian Inglis said it right. This episode was a dumpster fire, and that's being polite. Jesus, it was like, so Mando and Bo-Katan went to Disney World, met Nacho Libre, and then proceeded to have a CSI Miami episode. There was a droid morgue, Paul. There was a morgue for droids. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in Star Wars.
Oh man.
However,
you know what it sounds like?
However, I will say this. The cool part of this episode was the droid bar. That was cool. Because Kirsty fully expected them to walk in and the droid to be like, "We don't serve your kind here," as a callback to the original. And so I was hoping, but that was the only scene where I was like, "Okay, this is cool." And then after that, no, nothing. They could scrap 40 minutes of that episode and it would have been just fine. I'm done. Sorry, rant over. I feel better. I've been wanting that out for a while. How do you feel about it? Tell me how you really feel.
I think this blue protocol droid is sexy as F.
Cool.
Yeah. I just want to say, it looks so good, dude. First of all, I want to say that right now. Props to whoever designed this. Can we get this guy to come back and just call him like Blue Velvet or something? God damn, I love that droid. Anyway, you know, we have some regulars here that I appreciate. For all the OGs who've come on the Star Wars News Net Live and put up their crazy schedule. First of all, I appreciate you guys like crazy.
As goofy as anything.
Listen. But Mr. Wilson brought up something here. I think this is important. How do you know it's not filler?
I think the quest that they went on, that was completely worthless. But I disagree. I know Jack Black and Lizzo are going to pop up again somewhere down the line because at the end of the episode, they're like, if you ever need us again, call us. So you know they're going to pop back up. Her knighting Grogu was stupid. All he did was help her get a creature through a freaking Quidditch ring is all he did. But, that earned him knighthood for the planet. Great. Like,
guys, hold on. Oh, wait, hold on here. I got to interject. You had your floor. I got to jump in here. Remember, what is the Star Wars is meant for everybody. Now, I don't mean like from like, it is for everybody. I'm not meaning from a diversity standpoint at this moment. Star Wars is for everybody, for kids,
right?
Families to enjoy. To me, this episode best represents what I think makes Star Wars so good and it makes it so great. Star Wars is diverse in the types of storytelling you can tell. You can have weird as F crap like this. Okay, so I love this.
Dude, we were watching this. My foster son walked out of his bedroom, saw that, turned around, walked right back into his bedroom, and shut the door. He's like, "What?" Just walked back in.
But Favreau brings up a great point with all this because here's the thing: this exists in Star Wars. Okay, like these things are happening. And I like the fact that it does take a different approach. Now, the thing you have to remember about this episode. And I'm sure people have already said it online a bunch. It reminds me completely of a Clone Wars episode. 1000% Clone Wars episode. And one of the things about it that I like about that is that it's a different change of pace. If you give me the pirate every week or the Mines of Mandalore every week, I will love that, but it'll get tiresome. I don't need hold on.
You're good.
I don't need the same thing over and over again. I'm not saying this episode's an all-timer. I just enjoyed it. It was a good change of pace. I do think, Mr. Wilson, I leave this comment up because I do think not only will these characters I think Jack Black specifically serves a bigger purpose of the callback to Pershing and the other lady, who I always forget her name, their characters, because he comes from the same program that they all do. So they're serving the purpose of pushing that narrative forward of reforming these imperial people and how they're not all going to be brainwashed weirdos and have, weirdos, yes, obviously with Jack Black's character, but they can reform and be better people, quote unquote, right? He represents that. So that's pushing narrative forward. You may not like it, that's fine, but they are pushing things forward. So it's not filler. They're basically emphasizing what they've already done before, which they need to, because it's probably going to serve a bigger purpose, like Mr. Wilson's saying here, later on. Now,
This
I also
episode
want
should have been earlier in the season. This episode should have been in the first half of the season.
whatever.
It should have been 3 episodes from the end.
That's fine. You can say that. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue that point, because the droid bar, I think, also serves a bigger purpose, because I do think, I love that name, by the way. It's a great name. I do think that this serves the droids and everything. They will come back to also help Din Djarin at some point, potentially too. I think these are all things they're setting up. And also the idea, I love the ideas of the fact that like the droids are there and they're serving a purpose. And I love that there's kind of these themes that Favreau was interweaving. Like we give these people what they want. We're reformed, right? Like Jack Black represents the reformation of being Imperial. Well, they were all Clone Wars robots. I love the fact that they represent that whole aspect. This is not by accident. They are totally telling a story. And again, it's goofy. Yes. Was Christopher Lloyd take you out of it? You know what?
When he jumps up and he's like, everybody freeze, and nobody was even moving. He just looked at him like, what?
Exactly. That's the whole point. Because he's being dramatic on purpose. He's trying. Listen, it works for me. Listen, do I think I can understand why people are not going to be into this? Yes. But you know what? At the same time, it works for me. It just 100% works for me. So anyway, your chance to rebuttal, please go ahead.
One of the things about this season is I don't feel like season 1 and season 2 both had these underlying threads that went through the entire season of a subplot. This season doesn't feel like it's got a thread that goes through the entire season.
And what are you talking about? The reformation of Mandalorian.
But it doesn't. But I don't feel like we're making any progress to that. You know,
what happens at the end of the episode?
2 episodes in, Mando already proved you can go back to the planet. Why haven't they gone back to Mandalore yet? Why are they still sitting around shooting rockets into the freaking water? Like, why aren't they going back to Mandalore if they've already proven it's fine? They're just wasting time at this point. So I don't feel like there's any thread in this season that's going through. And like I said, the last 7 minutes of this episode is great. It's great. It pushes the narrative forward, her getting her fleet back. But this season just feels like a mess to me. It feels disconnected and like weird and like.
I think Mr. Wilson again brings up a good point, because Mandalore is the thread, and the reason they haven't gone back because they're building up towards that, man. Because I think for one, I think we don't know what Din Djarin off camera has told them, right? So he probably told them, "Hey guys, yeah, it's good," but the armorer has been very strategic with everything. Because remember when Bo-Katan tells her, "I saw a freaking mythosaur," and she's like,
right.
So that's there, man. Like it's there. It's just not like hitting you over the head. Like we have to go to Mandalore like that. I mean, it's going to happen. Like we know they're building towards that. And also it's a freaking ruins. And there's only like, hold on. I'm going to bring this up here. You're going to laugh at this. There's only like freaking like what? Like eight Mandalorians. Like what are they going to do? Like rule like under of 8?
But what I'm getting at though is we only have 2 episodes left in this season. That's it. Right. We have 2 episodes left. And after the episode The Pirate, I was like, boy, we are really gearing up for something great. And then this turd comes along and I'm like, it just completely disjoints. It derailed the momentum that the season was building up towards the end. This just derailed all that momentum and the hype for me, to be honest. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 episodes now. Like, it's just, you've only got 2 episodes to really ramp it into high gear, and I feel like they wasted this episode doing it. This episode would have made more sense being in the first half of the season, and then them starting to gear up the way they did with the pirate and going with that momentum. That's just kind of that's where I'm at.
Listen. I'm never going to say someone's wrong for their opinion. And if people feel that way, like you, I can respect it. I understand it. And again, people give me your ratings of the higher guns for hire. I'll give you my, I already know Brian has a 0.5, which is
0.5.
Man, you are harsh.
I'm being generous. No, I am being generous. I'm a generous.
No, you're insane. You're insane. Listen, the thing is, one, you got to realize they have budgets. They've got, again, there are things that they are setting up in this, I think, that will pay off in not just with the Mandalorian, because we know Ahsoka, there's other seasons of the Skeleton Crew. They are setting up things right now for this whole Filoni-verse. I hate calling it that, by the way.
I know,
Nothing
I do
against
too.
Filoni.
I
I hate it.
Yeah.
But the whole Mandalorian, this whole story thread that's going through everything, I don't think it's an accident. And I do feel like, listen, in hindsight, would I love something different? Maybe necessarily, sure. But just because I didn't get what I wanted doesn't mean it's bad. Does that make sense? For me, I still like it. I don't think it's bad. I enjoy it. Listen, the cameos I can understand can be distracting, are not optimal maybe for some people. I don't know who this is how old I am. I don't even know who Lizzo is, to be honest. I know she's a performer.
They're two big pop culture names right now. And I don't know. Anytime I see Jack Black, all I see is Jack Black. It's the same problem I had at first with Rosario Dawson playing Ahsoka, because all I could see was Rosario Dawson. I didn't see Ahsoka at all. Now it's growing on me a little bit. Okay, she's starting to embody Ahsoka more and more, like, because when she popped up in Book of Boba Fett, she had the mannerisms down a lot more. You know what I mean? It wasn't that first time anymore. She was kind of getting comfortable with. So it was starting to grow on me. But Jack Black, as soon as he stood up, he's like, hello. And I was just like, I was like, no way. Come on.
Look, I just think that there's something more to it. And we don't know we don't know. I think in retrospect, we can look back and say, oh, this is garbage maybe.
Probably, but yeah. Well, once it's over, we'll probably look back and go, oh, but.
Okay. Yeah. And so, yeah, I just don't know. I think the people are really want it to be a certain way, and when it doesn't meet their expectations, we all get upset. I don't think they're invalid either.
I don't think that it's that people want it to. I think it needs to at this point.
I don't think so. That's why I disagree.
We've only got 2 episodes left. I think we need to start building to something.
But they are. I just don't think that's what I don't understand. People, am I crazy? Like, I feel it's obvious what they're building for. They're building towards Mandalore. Like, they're building towards
it was a wasted episode.
Well, it wasn't, because you had to have, grow Bo-Katan. They had to get. I think what they needed. There probably was a mandate. Let's be real. There probably was a mandate from Disney. We need to have a certain amount of episodes, and you have to like stretch things out a little bit. I mean, it's probably what it was, and I think even what's his name said,
the second half of the season isn't where you want to be stretching, though, especially when it's been 2 years since we had a season.
No, I don't know if it was. I don't know the whole process. I mean, but I do think there probably was. We gotta have to, we need to do this, we need to do that, and we can do have some fun, because I think they want to have some fun too. And I think, but again, you got to remember who it's for. It's for families. It's not just for people like us who are like, I want Andor 24. I'm not saying you want Andor 24/7, but people who want Andor 24/7, that's not Star Wars all the time. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I love Andor. Love it to death. It's not, I don't want that 24/7. Andor and Obi-Wan Kenobi, that's where the Mandalorian lives, and it lives very well intermittently in that vein. And people want to push it towards more Andor. And then listen, I want it to be in that middle, because it's meant for families. We need to have episodes like this. Kids don't need just fire blowing up things every second. It's fun to have some levity.
That's why kids have Rebels. That's why kids have
yes, and
Resistance.
They have Mandalorian too.
Oh no!
So let's give it to them. No. It's like I just don't want. I want a balance, and that's the one thing that.
Wilson says slow burn. You're right. This season is a slow burn, but I feel like they were starting to stoke the fire, and then they threw a bucket of water on it, and waiting for it to flare back up for the end.
And maybe you'll be right in a couple seasons. It'll be, because there's episodes of Clone Wars where I'm like, I enjoy it, but it's like we don't really need that. Yeah. But at the same time, we don't know. I've enjoyed it. I could watch the episode. I'll watch that over and over and over again. Over like maybe one of the most boring episodes of Andor, which again, I think Andor is for the most part good. There's a couple episodes where I'm like, I could skip that. I think episode 3, I think it's fine. It's good, good drama, but I wouldn't want to watch that again. So it's just not my thing. I enjoy Guns for Hire. It's not a masterpiece, but it's actually entertaining to watch, and for me. So that's what I would say with it. you know what? And that's the thing is, I think Guns for Hire feels tonally like a Clone Wars episode that George was, because George knew the importance of balance and having like fun storytelling that kids can connect with. My daughter, who's 2 years old, and I know you have kids too, aren't going to connect to Andor. There's not like it's going to be a while before they really get it and connect to it, which again, I think it deserves to be there and should be there. But for Mandalorian, it's aimed for kids like to connect to and have fun with. And George understood the importance of that. And I don't think we should never, ever take for granted that aspect of Star Wars ever. Because the moment we do, the moment Star Wars dies. That's my firm opinion. So, but before we get out, we got 10 more minutes. Brian, I want to give you the floor. It's, and I want you all.
Is that a good idea right now?
I don't know. I would give this episode a 7.0 straight up. Not the best. It's better than a 6. I'd give it a 7. I like it. I like it. Don't love it, but I like it. I think it's better than its average, but it's not like an all timer. But I enjoy it. I just think it's interesting to see people like. It feels like people are very critical of this season more so than the last one. And I don't, but for me, the quality, again, you obviously feel differently, but for me, the quality doesn't seem that drastic to me. And people in the chat, let me know why do you think this season's not connecting to people as much as it seems like? Maybe I'm wrong. The ratings don't seem to be that different. People seem to act like it, but when I see the actual numbers,
the actual numbers are lower.
Social media.
The actual numbers.
No, they're not. Like they're not. Like they're not. That's the thing.
Newsnet even ran the story about the numbers, about how low they were.
They're like the numbers. Like from what I remember, there were numbers like the.
Hey,
by the
Tanner,
way, where do these super chats come from?
Huh?
I don't even know.
Tanner. He's one of my. I brought him over here. What's going on, Tanner?
Oh, Tanner. That's very nice. Tanner, man, that's a first official super chat. I have no idea.
Heck yeah.
I have no idea. To be honest, I have no idea where that money even goes to.
So I have no idea. With this season, I think, like I said, I think it's just I don't feel like there's a lot of structure in this season. It's just all over the place tone wise. I think it's just bouncing all over, and I don't know. I don't know what it is, to be honest. It's just it doesn't feel like it did. I don't know. I don't know if it feels diluted or what, or you know what I mean, or like.
Do you think
it's great getting episodes? It's great getting episodes with like Luke Skywalker taking down Dark Troopers, but then mentally you can't help but have it in your head. Well, that's not nearly as good as it used to be, you know. Like, and it's hard to hold it. You don't want to hold it to that standard, but subconsciously you still kind of are. And it's like, I don't know. This season feels weird. It feels very, very weird to me. Had they taken those 2 episodes from Book of Boba Fett that were Mando episodes? I know we're going to go back to that, but had they taken those 2 episodes and started season 3 with those 2 episodes and then took out the one that we just got and then just ran with it, I think it would have felt a lot more jointed. I think it would have felt more consistent.
You know what, Brian? The problem is, homie, that he is the writer. It's him and Filoni. I mean, he lets some people in here or there, but he is the main person. And I don't think it's been bad. Like I just don't think you can get away with doing like an Andor like drama with Mandalorian the whole time with the kids section, because kids are gonna get bored. Yeah, but you don't have
to have a droid morgue. Like,
dude,
they literally opened the door and slid the bed out. Like, I'm like, that's a
bro.
And then they took a needle, and then they took a needle and pulled oil out of it like a freaking blood sample, like a syringe. Like,
I love it. See, I love it. I love it.
The freaking
so to me,
and then Caucasian Dr. Ball is just like right there, and he goes ballistic and just starts cutting everything up. Like,
anyway, all right.
Anyway, I'll stop beating a dead horse.
Listen, I respect it. Listen, I was not. I can at least admit when I watch it, I can understand why people don't like it.
Yeah,
I have no problems with it, and I think this for me. I think in retrospect, it may be better in isolation. Most things in serialized storytelling, especially in Star Wars, out of context, is not as good as in context. see The Last Jedi. Because that whole thing tries to be out of context and be its own thing.
Yeah.
I had to dig that in there. So
yeah.
But that being said, I do think this episode will look better in hindsight. Hopefully. And if it doesn't, then I
hope it does. I hope you're right. I pray you're right. I really do.
For hire may not happen. But here's the good news for me. I still enjoy it. So I don't care. But for me, I do think it serves a purpose for Jack Black representing the reformation of the Imperial ideals and ideas. No, seriously though.
No. I'm having a hard time imagining Jack Black like on the bridge of a Star Destroyer.
He wasn't. He wasn't. He wasn't that necessarily. He was part of the Imperial organization. No, he wasn't. He wasn't a ship captain. He was like a officer. He was a low level.
Yeah,
person.
like in one of the pits on the bridge. Like
but he
guy or shield guy or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's not that big.
Oh God, I have a hard time imagining that.
I listen. I still enjoy it. I still like it. And I think the season's been great. And honestly, I look forward to watching these with my kid when she gets a little bit older and she understands because she like laughs at so much dumb stuff right now. And thank you, Mr. Wilson. And it
may, yeah. But
I think it'll age well for kids. It's not gonna age well for adults, just like how Phantom Menace, everyone hated that thing come out, and then everyone afterwards like, oh, Phantom Menace was so good because it is.
Yeah, it seems like there's like a 20-year
it'll be more than 20 years
before a movie is good. So
right. Yeah, and that I do think the amnesty program is a big reason why this episode, I think, proves that, and also emphasizing the whole theme of reformation. Because again, if you think about it, that also represents Bo-Katan, because about being able to redeem yourself essentially is what this theme is, and I think that's the overall thing we got to remember, and that's what Pershing, and that sometimes I think people are going to be able to redeem themselves, and some people will pretend they will and they won't. And obviously we get from what's her name? I keep forgetting her name. Vane? Is her name Vane? But yeah, listen, I love this season. I have no problems with it. I love it just as much as last season at this point. I freaking do. I still think Minds of Mandalore is their best episode. I freaking love that episode. And I think my least favorite episode is still the one with Pershing. And it's just because it's just too slow for me.
I can't help it. That's funny. I would pay good money to see that.
Listen, maybe we'll get into flashback.
Oh man,
we'll get into flashback. All right. So anyway, we'll wrap this up. Let's wrap this up.
Don't waste a Vader cameo on Jack Black. What? Come on.
We already got. We already have a lot of Vader. We got plenty of Vader.
Jack Black will be back. Don't worry, Andrew. Jack.
All right, let's wrap this up. All right, sir. Where can we find you on social media, sir? And
you guys can follow me on Twitter when I'm on there at Brian Miller 1138. You guys can check out my podcast, the Star Wars Canon Podcast. I just went live earlier tonight. I'm going to start going live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central here on YouTube, and then afterwards we'll post the actual episode on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for Saturday night for everyone to listen to. But on May 6th, I want to throw this out there real quick too. On May 6th, I'm going to be doing a 24-hour live stream for I'll be raising money for raising awareness for veteran suicide and PTSD. Awesome. And it's something that I've dealt with firsthand. I've lost battle buddies to veteran suicide, and so it's something that hits really close to home for me and something that means a lot to me. So during the stream, we're going to be playing Jedi Fallen Order, and then when we finish it, we'll be doing Survivor. And during the stream, I'll be taking donations for anybody who would like to donate. And if you donate over a certain amount, I'll thank you by sending you the hardback canon novel that I have of your choice. I've got everything from A New Dawn up to Light of the Jedi, I believe. So I'll be sending that out as a thank you. For your donation. So, and every single penny will go towards trying to raise awareness for that.
That's awesome, man. I have unfortunately been touched by suicide before, and it's one of the most awful things I ever dealt with. So the fact you're doing that, I think is commendable and amazing. And people out there, whether you're a veteran or whatever, it's a big deal. And if you are suffering, please, by all means, reach out, because there are people who love and care about you, and they want to help you. Trust me. From me and Brian, who have been touched by this, you want to, please, we want to help you. That people want to help you. So awesome, Brian. I'll try to pop my head in on that stream for a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
So
come hang out with me for a little while, and we'll just talk some Star Wars or talk about whatever y'all want to talk about.
We'll talk about this episode.
We'll talk about Rey Skywalker. That's what we'll do. Yes.
Let the hate. No hate. No, hey, Johnny said he needed this episode. There we go. I'm not sure if he means this Mando episode or us. I don't know, but yeah, I will definitely chime in on that day. But for me, you could follow me on Twitter at Herman22 with 2 N's, aka P Thug. Please go over to the Comic Binge YouTube channel. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs. I'm at 901 right now. I would love to get to 1,000 in the next couple months. It'd be awesome, PL. Please, please, please. I just did a Star Wars episode with my sub series called Marveling Star Wars. And we just did issues 38 and 39. And where you get introduced to the Mandalorians for the first time in Star Wars history, essentially, besides I mentioned in the novel and in the Art of book. So thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate that, sir. I really do. Thank you guys. It means a lot to us. Yes, shout out to the Cantina. And yeah, so we just did this episode last Friday, so it's fresh out there. Go check it out. A lot of fun. Scott Rifen, Chris Carey, my good buddies. They're awesome. Love them, love them, love them. And also my other Star Wars podcast that I do every other Thursday with my homies, but they've been doing without me. This is The Saga Continues with Tim and Kyle. Love them. If you guys love hearing me talk about Star Wars, I go even deeper with these guys. And if you think me and Brian are bad, just listen to me. You should listen to me and Kyle. Me and Kyle have gone almost not rage. We get into it too, and it's funny. Kyle's about 10 years younger than I am. Just a little bit like 9 or 8 years, whatever. But we have the same birthday, and we couldn't be further apart. And we're in every facet, physically, besides our love of Star Wars, we are so different. And I love that guy to death. I love him like a little brother. He's awesome. I love that guy.
That's great.
But yeah, go check out the Saga Continues podcast. Again, if you want even deeper analysis, definitely check out here. We go in deep. We go long sometimes. So anyway, let's wrap it up here. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be back in a couple weeks, or you will be here next Thursday.
I'll be here next Thursday. Next Thursday.
What's his name? Is it Ryan? Not Andrew? Is that his name? Andrew? I'm really the person that was with you last week.
Oh, Nate.
Nate
was with me last week. Man, you had me thinking for a second. I was like,
Nate, I'm sorry,
then, man.
Nate, Nate, I'm sorry. No offense, sir. Nate, I'm terrible with names.
Weeks all run together. Don't take it personally.
They do.
Man, I slept.
They are not on you. We are not on YouTube. As a point of contention, by the way, I've told them get on freaking YouTube. It's a whole thing. We'll get there eventually, though. We'll get there eventually. But yeah, you and Nate will be back next week. I'll be back the week after, talk more every Star Wars. We'll have obviously the
we'll have celebration next week.
If you're out there, celebration, be safe, be kind. Brian, you have the last words. What do you want to end on?
Till next time, guys. May the Force be with you.